I don't know what it was. I don't know whose idea it was, but I just wish I can erase it out of the movie and out of my brain because it was utterly ridiculous. Just seen Venom the Last Dance, and I got a few things to say. The movie started out swinging. Right out of the gate, no, on screen, bam, there he is. It probably would have been pretty surprising and great if he wasn't in the trailer already, but we kind of had an idea he was going to be in it. We didn't know what capacity, but I feel like if they just didn't put that in the trailer because they didn't really have to, or maybe they did need to, maybe it wasn't tracking too well and they wanted people to see it. But if I just would have seen Null and I had no idea that he was in this film and first scene there he was, I would have been ecstatic. I mean, it really could have been a monumental scene. It's like one of those end credit zingers, but in the beginning of the film, completely flipping everything on his head. But of course, they already leaked it in the trailer. So, hey, there he is. I mean, it's not to say I wasn't happy to see him on screen, but the scene kind of played out like a cheesy PS2 video game intro. He's just sitting there on his throne, narrating about what he wants to do with monster creatures crawling all around. I mean, we got the exposition of what's happening, but who was he even talking to? I guess the creatures, although they didn't seem like they were intelligent at all. But yeah, a lonely guy sitting on a throne that's also a prison gives exposition about what the movie's going to be about. Wasn't a great intro to me. But after that, the movie actually opens up to Eddie Brock having a conversation with a bartender. And in this conversation, the bartender is telling him about a purple alien who likes stones. Who could that be? Oh, I think I know. And he's talking about being snapped out of existence for 5 years. And Eddie's kind of like, that doesn't happen. Aliens don't do that because Venom's like feeding things into his head. So I guess he doesn't know about the whole Thanos thing. And I'm like, wow, they're really going to connect this to the MCU strongly right out the gate, right? Wrong. As soon as that happens, he gets zapped out of that dimension into another dimension and gives some cheesy joke about how he hates multiverses, which when Deadpool does it, it's funny and it's an MCU thing and we can rag on the bad parts of the MCU because let's be honest, the multiverse saga hasn't been that great. But when Venom does it, it's kind of like a jealous second cousin getting mad at your achievements because you just graduated with a degree. At this point, I'm really still a little confused as to the post-credit scenes and the things that were going on in Spider-Man and the symbiote dimension hopping and not liking Tom Holland. At this point, I really just want them to make sense of it all or just let it be over. And honestly, I really went into this film being optimistic, even though the trailer was so-so to me. I wanted to like this film. I'm going to be honest. I didn't go into here and say, man, why are we doing this? I really wanted to like this film. When I found out Noah was involved, I was a little bit weary because I'm like, how are they going to do all of this? And this is supposed to be like the final film of a trilogy or something. But like I said, I went into it optimistic. So let's just say the opening was a little hit and miss to say the least. But soon after that, we get the first introduction of I always butcher this guy's name. I'm sorry. It's not even a joke. I just always butcher his name.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Chiwetel Ejiofor. At least that's what Google is telling me how it's pronounced. We're just going to call him Baron Mordo from another... Venom Mordo. We're going to call him Venom Mordo because I'm going to butcher his name and I don't want to do that because he's a great guy, great actor. So Venom Mordo catches one of the symbiote pieces at the bar. He obviously knows what's going on. He's very confident. And honestly, I usually don't like the military guys that come into movies like this. But for some reason, his introduction didn't really bother me. And I was like, I kind of like this guy. From here, we get the expected Eddie Venom banter, which honestly, at this point, I am extremely tired of. I mean, the first two films, I kind of dealt with it, but I was never a big fan of the comical Venom and the silly Eddie. I mean, I would like him to be way more serious. I want the Venom to be way more menacing, but this is what we got. And it's Tom Hardy. He's gave me so many great things and so many great movies, so I'm always going to check it out. But seriously, I am over the comedic buddy Venom thing that's going on. I mean, Eddie just seems to get more goofy and goofy as these films progress, and Venom just gets sillier and sillier. I don't enjoy it. That's not to say some of the jokes aren't funny here and there, but for the most part, I can do without most of it. I mean, the first real scene we get with Venom and Eddie actually doing anything is them randomly stumble upon a dog fighting, catching ring and beating up a bunch of guys. And it's just, I don't know, the wow factor is just not there for me anymore. The jokes just don't hit as hard. And the action was kind of lackluster in this scene. Venom and Eddie start to tease this whole thing about wanting to go to New York, which I guess is supposed to hint like, oh man, he's going to see Spider-Man, or he's going to live his life and become a photographer, and we're going to get the real Eddie Brock that we were supposed to get. But it doesn't really pan out to be that way, at least not in this part of the film, because as soon as they're taking a plane, and when I say taking a plane, I mean hanging on the outside of a plane, they get attacked by one of those creatures, which are Xeno some things. I can't remember. I don't feel like looking it up. I wish they were xenomorphs. That would have been cool if they had like aliens coming to fight Venom. I think I would have enjoyed that. But these Xeno, let's just call them symbiote killers or Xeno killers. I'm going to go with Xeno killers. The Xeno killer attacks them while they're hanging on the side of a plane. They both fall off. The Xeno killer is sucked into the plane's engine and gets all mangled and mashed up into pieces. Venom jumps off with Eddie, and he becomes a Venom parachute as he parachutes down to Nevada for some reason. They were coming from Mexico on their way to New York. They ended up in Nevada, whatever. I don't know flight plans or flight paths, but that's where they ended up. The Venom shoot was kind of like a cool gimmick. We seen that in the trailer too, but it just was a gimmick and not the only one. And that's something that really bothered me in this movie. Pretty much not too soon after the Venom shoot, we got the Venomized horse, which also didn't really serve any purpose to forward the story to me. It was just like, let's throw in a scene where they meet up with a horse, venomize it, and just CGI running just goes through the scene. It really did nothing for me, nothing for the story. It was just a scene, and I don't think it was needed, but it was a cool gimmick to put in a trailer, I guess. It worked, but it didn't amount to anything. Next, we get a scene about a family who are chasing alien sightings at Area 51, which Venom Mortal works at. Well, he's destroying, and he works underneath at Area 54 with two other major characters, I guess you would say. The scientist, Dr. Payne, and Christmas. I don't know if that other scientist had a name, but she always wore a Christmas tree. I think she's just Christmas. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look it up. Give me a second. Okay, Sadie, your name's not Christmas. She wears a Christmas tree. Name's Sadie. Got it. Just an interesting tidbit here because like I overanalyze a lot of things, but they had two leading female scientists, which I thought was pretty cool because, you know, sometimes the gender roles in these movies, they say there's not enough this or there's not enough that, or they try to make things so even and 50-50. But here we had two female leading scientists, and it wasn't thrown in your face like, hey, girl power, two leading female scientists. They were just scientists, and you kind of just took it as that. And I thought that was pretty cool because you didn't have to think twice about it. These scientists, along with Venom Mortal, are interrogating symbiotes, and one of them tells them that Null is basically going to hunt and kill everything because it's looking for Venom. So, of course, what does Venom Mortal do? He says, let me go catch Venom. Somewhere around there, we get Venom explaining to Eddie of what's really going on and who Null is. He explains to him that because he died and they were united, he brought back to life, they formed a codex, something called the codex. If you don't know what it is, it's just something called the codex for now. And Null needs it to get free. So what is he going to do? He's going to hunt down Venom and Eddie. The only way to get rid of it is if one of them dies, then the codex dies. This moment doesn't last long at all because Venom Mortal pops up on their tail in an instant, like he can teleport or something. The scene where Venom Mortal's military attacks Eddie at the river is pretty good. The action looks great. It's underwater battle. It's fast paced. We get to get some more gimmicks of Venom jumping from a fish to a frog, and, you know, we get Venomized frog. Like, we needed that, right? To be honest, though, the scene was pretty entertaining, and it probably is like my third favorite scene in the film altogether, which I guess isn't saying much just yet, but it is. Venom's plan to escape was go full Venomize so Eddie couldn't be hurt because they were falling off a waterfall. When they do go full Venomize, that's when the Xeno killer knows where they're at. It sets off like a homing beacon and he comes for them. It comes down, it starts killing up all of Venom Mortal's crew. He sees it and he doesn't help, but he sees what happens and he starts to believe the symbiote story about something bad coming. So far, I'm really into it. I know the movie could go a lot of ways from here, and I was kind of interested to see where it goes. This takes Eddie to meet up with the alien hunting family, and the dad looks ultra familiar to me. You know, I didn't really look that hard at the cast before watching this movie, and then it dawned on me, whoa, that's Kurt Connors, the guy who played the Lizard in The Amazing Spider-Man. But, of course, it doesn't have any relation here. I don't know why they cast him. Maybe they just liked the guy. I thought it was going to have some significance, but apparently it didn't. Or maybe it will one day, but it doesn't now. Venom makes friends with the family. They help him out. He bonds with the little boy a little bit, and it's all cool. He lets him out in Vegas. When they get to Vegas, what does Venom want to do? Gamble. For some reason, Venom wants to gamble. Things happen, things progress. His foot gets peed on. Yes, his foot gets peed on, and they go to a casino. I don't know whose idea was to write this scene into the film. And this is probably one of my least favorite things about this film. It was already silly and goofy enough, but Venom's weird, childish gambling addiction scene was just, I didn't enjoy it that much. I did get a little chuckle out of it, just out of the pure ridiculousness of it. But overall, I just didn't understand why this needed to be in this film. And there they also meet up with Miss Chin, you know, the store clerk from back home. And she's there all dressed out and she's winning a ton of money. She invites Eddie and Venom up to her room to hang out. And there they have a very strange, like, just when I thought this scene couldn't get any weirder and this movie couldn't get any goofier, Chin and Venom have a weird duo dancing with the stars thing. I don't know what this was or what this was supposed to be. Completely took me out the film. This guy is running from alien menaces, and every time he venoms out, they track him, and he knows this, but he fully venoms out so he can dance with Miss Chin at the penthouse in Vegas at a casino. I was mind blown. At this point, I was almost ready to just walk out the theater because it was just utterly ridiculous. And it's just, this is where you want to introduce Null. This scene is probably, were they mocking Spider-Man 3's symbiote dance scene? Was this like some kind of horror flashback that we were having? Is this like an alternate dimension version of, hey, part 3 of a movie with Venom in it? It's going to have a weird dance scene. I don't know what it was. I don't know whose idea it was. But I just wish I can erase it out of the movie and out of my brain because it was utterly ridiculous. At this point, I'm really just sitting here hoping the movie would end because the time is running and I'm like, what could they really do to clean this up at this point? Venom Mordo catches Eddie. He tosses him in Area 54, which is Area 51, but underground. He begins to have a chat with one of the other symbiotes about what they must do to stop Null. Of course, that is breaking out all the symbiotes and fighting his invincible monster that can regenerate at any point. But Venom Mordo has other ideas. He hears the plan and he's just like, hey, if they need Venom and Eddie to be together for the Codex, and if one of them dies, the Codex dies, so Null can't come, I'm just going to kill Eddie. In which he proceeds to, in one of the more sane moments of the movie, which is actually an insane act of him just shooting Eddie point blank. But it's like, man, if you knew what you were going to do, you should have just did it. And I commend him on that because a lot of times in movies, the bad guys or whatever you want to call him, just take too much time talking about what they want to do and they don't just do it. But he did it. Didn't amount to Eddie dying. Christmas lady, Sadie, has Venom and she gives it to Eddie. He pops right back up and now we get a big battle because the killer Xeno monster pops in and starts killing symbiotes. While I was so down from the first act being a little slow and the second act being so lackluster, I can say the beginning of this act started to lift my spirits a little bit. We got the symbiotes free. They took host. We got a bunch of different versions of symbiotes fighting this giant monster. And now I'm actually entertained. Now I actually feel like there's some stakes. I feel like things are serious. Symbiotes are dying, people are dying, and we got some action here. This scene plays out in so many parts. There's so many good things here. I mean, the action is pretty good. If you ever wanted to see a bunch of symbiotes fight a giant monster, this is it. Like, I don't know if it can get much better than this when it comes to that situation. So I really enjoyed this scene. The final act was just terrifying. And then we come to find out these monsters can summon more monsters, and at this point, they couldn't defeat one. Every time they kill it, it regenerates. But now you got several of them here. And man, was this good. Finally, we got symbiotes being symbiotes. They're able to do the damage they're supposed to do. They're forming blades. They're forming big fists. They're punching. They're stabbing. We're getting everything we want. Venom is still kind of just running around, not being too serious. But eventually, he gets in the fray and he starts to show who he is, but I wish he would have did a little bit more. We get all the big action, and it comes to the conclusion of, either Eddie or Venom has to go because they're not going to let Null out. I mean, the movie runtime is already at its last. We can't just drop Null in here, right? Venom sacrifices himself to save the world and everyone in it. Venom devises a plan to use acid to kill himself and the Beast, and Venomorto decides to blow himself up in the middle of it as if it wasn't already working. I don't know why. At this point, one of the doctors breaks her little symbiote valve that she had in her pocket, and she gets super fast symbiote speed, and I guess she's supposed to be Agony. At this point, the introduction of the symbiotes are not really great, and it's kind of loosely comic related at this point. But yes, I think she's supposed to be Agony. None of the symbiotes really get named. You kind of just have to go off of what you think or who you think they are. Maybe they're named in the credits or something. They didn't have their own real identities. It's kind of like how the Transformer movies usually just throw Transformers in there. You don't really get much on them sometimes, and they're here, they're gone, that's it. Eddie Brock is exonerated for all his crimes because of what he did at the Area 54, and the movie ends with him just going to New York and continuing on his life. There it is. Wrap it up. No, there's end credit scenes. All right, let's talk about the first end credit scene. The first end credit scene is Null on his throne talking garbage. I don't know where they're going with it, but Null's still alive, so I'm guessing there's something planned going on there. We've all heard the rumors, but I really don't know at this point. Then we have another end credit scene in which a cockroach comes across the symbiote, and I don't know, that's what happens. Venom's still alive, I think. My honest opinion on the movie, the acting was mediocre to above average. I don't think anyone was really bad, but no one really blew me away. Didn't really enjoy Eddie and Venom's jokey nature, but it wasn't that Tom is a bad actor. The dialogue in the script just didn't work for me. My favorite actor in this actual one would probably be Venomorto. I think he did a great job coming across of what he needed to come across as. I hated him. I liked him. He did what he had to do, but that's all I could really say there. The music. Wasn't really much to say about the music. The music in the film was just nothing that stood out to me either. They had a few tracks here and there that I recognized, but I couldn't say that this film had a great soundtrack or anything. Action. Now, that's something that this movie did have. It didn't have it in droves, but the final act, it seemed like they poured everything into there because, honestly, we didn't get a lot of Venom in the first two acts of the film. I think he Venomed out maybe once or twice and only for a few seconds, which is a shame because it's a movie called Venom, I Want to See Venom. But the last act kind of made up for it because it was a great action sequence. If I did ever watch this movie again, I would probably watch the action in the third act over and over. I don't know if I would watch the whole film that many times, maybe just one or two more times just to see if I catch up on any Easter eggs I missed. But yeah, the action was pretty good when they did have it. Besides that, nothing in this film really sticks with me. I don't think it was great. If I had to match it up with Let There Be Carnage, it's pretty much equal, or I might like this one a little bit less. The first one was the first one. I can't really say much, It's hard to recreate that first time you see these things on screen. But I'm going to have to give this film a 6 out of 10. And that's me being extra generous because I'm really a fan of the character. If I wasn't a fan of the character, it'd definitely probably be a 5. But we're going to go 6 because it's Venom and I just can't give Venom a 5. What happens from here, we can only guess. Null apparently is going to be a thing. What I'm hoping is Marvel and Sony can get together, something where we get Eddie Brock in New York with Tom Holland. Let Tom Holland get the symbiote suit, maybe one that was stuck on the other side of the multiverse. Let it bond with him. Let Eddie already have prior knowledge of it, of course, because he was Venom, and the Venom symbiote should remember him, so they should have some type of synergy between them, and it'll cause the symbiote to want to bond back with Eddie when it leaves Tom Holland. And that could give us the real Venom Spider-Man story we wanted, because then Venom can develop a dislike or a hatred for Tom Holland, and when it bonds back with Eddie, it can make them kind of want to get revenge on him, and we can get a great story. And isn't the Rhino showing up in the new Kraven film? Maybe they can bring him along too so we can get that cool scene we had in the animated series with Rhino kicking over cars and Spider-Man coming with the symbiote and just whipping the crap out of him. Wishful thinking. But I don't know. What do you guys think about the film? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Was Venom too silly for you? Was it great? Did you like the jokes? Let me know down in the comments. What would you give it as score out of 10? And where do you think they go from here? Really, like, what do you think happens next? That's been my review, guys. Thanks for watching. Please check out some of my other videos. I got some cool stuff. But if not, just try to hit the like on your way out to keep me going. And I'll check you guys out later.